First of all, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Jason Williams, who's a political columnist at the Cincinnati Enquirer. Jason, if you'd like to...
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me. My good friend and former coworker, Stephanie Downs, it's great to see her, and she invited me. When she asked me to do this, I jumped right at it. I do have to say real quick that I'm in mourning over the Bluebird closing. It is absolutely one of my favorite breakfast spots ever, so I love the place. Sorry, I didn't know. I thought the news had already been broken, so.
We're in mourning too.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, looking forward to this. What a great opportunity you have here in Norwood. Three candidates, one from each party, and I think that's two from each party, and then an independent. I think that is you have certainly a great choices here coming up in the election. I want to introduce each one of them, and as I introduce each name, they're going to come up, sit down, then we're going to have each one of them come up and give a minute-and-a-half introduction of themselves. I'd like to welcome Independent Will DeLuca.
Am I doing it here?
Once I introduce everyone, then you'll... Okay, go ahead.
Sure.
So what I'll do is I'll introduce everyone, all the candidates will come up, and then we'll go in that order, which was randomly drawn. Republican Vic Schneider. And Democrat Tim Maloney. Before we jump, we'll go over the basic format here. This is a forum. Each candidate will come up to the podium and give a minute-and-a-half introduction of themselves. And then we've drawn 4 random questions from a list of 7 questions. And each candidate will be asked 4 questions, some of which will be asked, there will be a couple of questions will be asked twice of 2 different candidates. So I will again welcome Will DeLuca to the podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Will DeLuca. I'd like to welcome everyone today. Appreciate this opportunity. Appreciate everyone who's here today. Many of you may know me. I own Betta's Italian Oven here in Norwood on the corner of Clinty Avenue and Montgomery Road. Lifetime Norwood resident, born and raised here. Married with 4 children. My family started Sorrento's Pizza here in Norwood. My aunt, 2 doors down, had Anna's Tailoring. My father, four doors down, had Rogers Import Garage. That's what we do. That's what my family's always instilled in me is to work hard, own a business, and be a productive member of society. I'm currently expanding my business right now. On the corner, I'm building a new sports bar. I'm going to have barbecue. It should be open later this fall. I love and care about Norwood. This is my hometown. I'm married with 4 children, 2 grandchildren, and I'm a proud Norwood resident. And I think it's time that we take Norwood a different direction, and we look at it through the mindset and the eyes of a business owner. And that's why I'm running for mayor this time. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Glad to be here with all of you. I'm glad to see such friendly faces out there. Always welcome the opportunity to speak in front of a nice crowd about the city of Norwood. I had a quick introduction that normally we would give to the person before it, and it was written up, so I'll just go by. Victor Schneider has lived here since 1972. I've lived in Norwood since 1972. I'm married. I've been married 29 years. I've raised my 4 children here in the city of Norwood, and I've been active in many groups and organizations. I've got a very positive view about the new direction that the city of Norwood is moving forward in. I feel really strong that Norwood is a community on the rise. I think that's important to say right up front. I think Norwood is moving in the right direction. I've been involved in local politics for many years, and of course most people will say, well, why would you get involved in politics? But I think it's an important aspect of our country and of our community. My grandfather was an organizer at the local Trailmobile plant, which was right over in Oakley. He was involved in organizing and getting things going there. I thought that was very important in his life lessons. My other grandfather was actually involved with the Auxiliary Deputy Sheriff's Department. And so I'm very glad to be here. I have 15 seconds, so we'll go in a little deeper. But I think my background in community management really puts me in a position to help lead the city. Thank you.
It's short. Good afternoon. Thanks to the board. Thanks to the members. Thanks to Kathy for putting this together. I really appreciate it. I'm Tim Maloney. The first thing I noticed when I came in with Will and Vic and I here, we need a much bigger table. That's for sure. Like these two guys before me, I was born and raised in Norwood also. My dad was a city fireman back in the day where you had to live in the city. And I've lived in 6 different homes in Norwood and all 4 different wards. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, went to Norwood schools, both public and private, went to St. Xavier High School, and have an accounting degree from Xavier and MBA of Finance, Xavier also. I'm the father of 4 daughters, and I say that with pride, and they're all very successful. My youngest daughter is here. She's the one in the t-shirt back there because she's in between classes right now, and so stopped by and thought she'd check us out. I'm an accountant by trade. I'm the current city treasurer, and I've been the city treasurer since 1998. And I'm looking forward to going from a job that has a very narrow focus to a much wider focus. And that's my goal, and we're working hard to get there. And Donna tells me that I'm ending right now, so I appreciate that.
Just a reminder, in our forum, each candidate will be asked 4 questions each. They will have 2 minutes to respond to each question, and then at the end they will each be given an opportunity to have a 2-minute closing statement. So our first question is for Mr. DeLuca. And the question is, what do you think is going well in Norwood that you would build upon and/or make sure to sustain?
Thank you very much. I think what's really going well right now is our residential housing stock. People are moving into Norwood, improving improving the houses, improving their neighborhoods, taking ownership in these properties. There's a lot going on in our residential neighborhood, especially in South Norwood. Residents are doing their part. We're doing our part. Where we're failing is the city's not doing their part. And what we need to do is focus on our infrastructure, our roads, our sidewalks, our curbs. And we need to make sure that developments are coming online to help focus on these types of improvements to our streets, sidewalks, and curbs and parks. So I would have to say right now what's really going well for Norwood is our properties. People are investing, fixing up, and improving. And I think that's a good thing, and we need to focus more on that.
Our next question is for Mr. Schneider. How would you go about building trust with council, police, and fire departments and residents?
Well, trust is a two-way street, and clearly we need a lot more communication. We need to get, and we do have some chips on our shoulders when it comes to negotiations, and there are definitely chips on your shoulder when the city is talking to community members. I think that the big part is to break down barriers and really start communicating well with the people that are paying the taxes, that our government is here to help. I think that's an important aspect of it. You know, we have, through the years, in many years, there have been some structures put in place that make it very tough for the administration and for council members to work with the staff and the employees of the city of Norwood. So breaking down those communication barriers is going to be really the biggest and strongest act that we can take to improve our relationships overall with community members, with business members, and with our community members. So really, it's a high-level communication, and with that will come trust and understanding, and then the byproduct, of course, is the greater Norwood.
Thank you. Our next question is for Mr. Maloney. Mr. Maloney, what will be your top 3 priorities if elected?
So I've talked about these 3 things for a long time now, and that's a government that's more responsive, more inclusive, and more effective. And what I mean by that is we need to make it easy to communicate to the citizens, to the business community. We need to be responsive to their needs. We need to be responsive to city workers' needs, whether they're union, department heads. We need to do a much better job doing that. When I talk about inclusiveness, I'm talking about in the decision-making process. And whether you talk about getting in the right room or the seats at the table, it all means the same thing. But it's reaching out to the community, reaching out to the business community, and getting brain power in the right room. And so we need to reach out and make our decisions that way. Effective government is more efficient, more businesslike. We all know the financial issues that the city have had in the last several years, and to be able to concentrate and be led by a true businessman is going to be very important for our future.
Thank you. Hang on to that microphone, Mr. Maloney. The next question is the only question that was randomly drawn to be asked of all 3 candidates. So we'll stick in with Mr. Maloney. What applicable skills and experience would you bring to the mayor's office?
Well, I think I've got the education background that's necessary to lead. And an advanced education teaches you a lot of things. But first, it teaches you how to work as a member of a group, how to lead the group, and most important, it teaches you how to listen. And as you work through the MBA program here, the focus is that. And I bring those skills to the office of mayor. The next thing is my professional experience. I've been in the finance field as an accountant, as a finance guy for public and private companies, for large and small companies. I'm currently the CFO of a Chinese-owned food distributorship that has locations in 7 different cities, and I've been able to work with different departments, different people, customers, suppliers, and a well-rounded background that's going to be very effective as mayor. The last thing is my government experience. And as I stated before, I've been treasurer since 1998. And I've also was chairman of a Hamilton County Committee, the Tax Levy Review Committee, for 4 years, that we analyzed voted on tax levies, be it the zoo, senior services, things like that, presented that analysis and documentation to the county commissioners to vote. So I think from my education, my professional experience, my government experience, I'm the guy.
Thank you, Mr. Maloney. I'll repeat the question, Mr. Schneider. What applicable skills and experience would you bring to the mayor's office?
Thank you. Well, I've worked in municipal management for many years. I worked in a service department, public works department. I was certified as a police officer. I've been certified as a firefighter. I've actually worked as a firefighter. So those are just background parts. But then I am also certified in association management. I'm certified as and licensed as a manager of associations. So with that certification comes 4 or 5 different modules that are very important to being the mayor of a city. And there aren't, it's important to realize that there really isn't a college degree program that says for the mayor of a municipality. When Tim talks about it, and I'm sure when Mr. DeLuca talks about it, it's interesting because you have to put together the package that makes you somewhat qualified as the mayor, but you've really got to put together the right team behind you. So some of the stuff that I've been working on or worked with is contracting, putting together contracts for multinational corporations, for corporations, and working through those and working with the legal teams to make those things happen. Financial controls, some of the training is responsibility and putting in the financial controls that are important. For associations, it's spending money. It's putting together an accounting program with accounts payable and accounts receivable and working with those systems to make sure that they work and you have the checks and balances in place. Risk management and insurance, evaluating that, evaluating the documents, evaluating what needs to be there and what insurance levels you need. So all these are just sort of the building blocks. And I don't claim to be an expert in any of those. And even most of the people that are in the insurance business will say they're not an expert in everything. But I do have a fundamental understanding, and that is an important part of it. Property maintenance is my background and an easy one, but even human resources is part of that module that needs to be taken into consideration. So it's a very diverse background. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Mr. DeLuca, I will repeat the question again. What applicable skills and experience do you have or would you bring to the mayor's office in Norwood?
I bring a unique set of skills to, I guess, the mayor's office, or will, I should say. I was bred for this. I grew up in a family business, and I learned very early on what the meaning of hard work is. I started a business from nothing in an area of Norwood that was, by the way, the Enquirer once said, a desolate stretch of Montgomery Road.
That was before I was there.
Yeah.
So.
That's what they said when I opened my restaurant, basically implying that this guy's nuts. And quite frankly, most of my family and friends thought the same thing. But I had a passion, a will, and I had a work ethic that is second to none. Before doing my own restaurant, I worked for a company that it was my job to go in and clean things up. I'm a no-nonsense kind of guy. I understand business. I understand what it takes to push things forward. I make decisions not based on emotions, on what's best for the business. And more times than not, it works out. And, I'm in an industry right now that 70% of other restaurants fail. 70% of restaurants fail. But not only have I survived, I'm a leader. I've been acknowledged as being the best. And that comes through, that just doesn't happen by accident. It's not by luck. Luck only lasts so long. You can only fool people so long. It's through making good business decisions. And what's happened in Norwood is that for a long time, decisions aren't being made on what's right for Norwood. And so it's my goal, my plan to get in there, clean things up, get things moving forward, and pass the torch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeLuca. Hang on to the mic there. We're going to go right back down the line. And this next question, again, these were randomly chosen, so in the sake of fairness, just to let everyone know that. Our next question will be for Mr. DeLuca and for Mr. Schneider, and this will be to you, Mr. DeLuca. What policies would you enact to make obtaining permits for home and business construction easier?
Well, being that I've gone through this process a couple times and I know what it feels like to try to do business in this town, day number one, I'm going to hire a full-time plans examiner for the city of Norwood, not a building commissioner who's here part-time or under contract and services multiple cities or communities. There's too much red tape that way. You're on his time, not your time. And as you business owners well know, time is money. It shouldn't take 4 months, 4.5 months to get a building permit in this town. When you look at Norwood, every community that touches Norwood is flourishing. But right now, Norwood has a reputation of don't do business there. It's too hard, too difficult. And these people, when they think about where they're going to invest, where they're going to maybe do a project, time translates money for them. They're not going to shell out a bunch of money not knowing how long it's going to take or what the political arena's like. So they're just going to look at other areas. And as a result, this is what you have. I want to help the small business person, the young entrepreneur like me. I think that we should do everything we can to encourage small business people coming into our town. So I would like to implement through our building department, our plans examiner, a program that says, hey, if you meet this criteria, if you're maybe 6 employees or less, we will come in, or you will come in, and you will sit with us. We'll have every Wednesday or every other Wednesday seminars where you can come in, you will sit with us, we'll look at your project, we'll help you put together the drawings that you need, and we're going to team you up, pair you up with these notorious property owners, and they're going to have stake in it too. We're going to require they make certain improvements, and we'll put them with you as long as they make these types of improvements, but we're going to forego.
Mr. Luca,
Thank you.
Time. Thank you. Jumping to Mr. Shiner, I will repeat the question. What policies would you enact to make obtaining permits for home and business construction easier?
Well, I definitely think you have to have the right staff in place, and ultimately, I won't promise you that on day one I'm going to have a new staff in place, because it's going to take time to put the right people in place and get everybody, all the ducks lined up to make it happen. But I will tell you that we need policies and procedures, and we probably need some handbooks and some different information that goes out from the building department to helps people understand maybe the timeline and what they can expect and what the next step is. Right now, it seems like when you go to the building department with one, from what I understand, you go to the department with one thing, they say, okay, thank you, and you turn that in, and then the next time you have to go back and they sort of yell over the wall and say, what are they doing next? And you find out this is the next hoop you have to jump through. So I think putting together really some flow charts, some information that tells the members of the community this is the way you do it, and telling the businesses this is the way you do it, and what your expectations should be. I think that's a critically important part of it. Having policies and procedures in place that we as community members and we as business owners can look at and go, this is the process, I understand. That's an important aspect to it. So there are all sorts of different ideas that will be brought out, and I'm sure in the first probably 60 to 90 days, the building department will change drastically, because we'll bring in professionals that have ideas and suggestions and actually have worked these flows before and understand it. I'm not sure about notorious homeowners or notorious people, but I think we've got to put the right people in place, professionals that are in the industry that have maybe done it in other communities where it's very successful. Maybe it might be somebody from Cincinnati who's very successful that wants to come to Norwood and work and put together the process. So I think there's a lot to be done, but I think having that flow together and having the information and communicating clearly with people would be a step in the right direction.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Our next question is certainly a fun one, and this one will be for both Mr. Maloney and Mr. DeLuca, and we'll jump to Mr. Maloney right now. It's funny.
I'm excited.
Maybe it's just for me, it's fine. I don't know. I'm just curious to hear the answers, so I'm curious to hear all the answers.
Me too.
What would your administration have done to prevent the current impasse in union negotiations, and what priorities would you have to assure future financial stability in regards to union negotiations?
Well, I think everyone that has followed the labor issues in Norwood pretty disappointed and just shakes their head as to what we have right now. it's like a bad divorce right now. There's no trust between the administration, council, the unions, and it's been several years in the making. And it's hard to come up with a decent decision when you don't trust the other side. Everybody wants to work for a healthy company, a healthy city. They want to be able to provide for their family. They want to get good pay, good benefits, all of those things. And so we have to make the city healthy once again. The labor issues have to be solved at the same time that we're moving to other parts of the budget, whether that's streets, infrastructure, whatever it is. It matters what the police officers say, what the fire department says. The type of negotiation right now is very in your face. It's like you're talking to your children in a bad way. And in my opinion, that doesn't work in the long run. And so it's got to be more, I guess, more together. The negotiating process, some of it is caused, or some of it is determined by law, and some of it is just good communication. So what you need to do is have a much better relationship, build that relationship, start trusting each other, and good decisions will follow.
Thank you, Mr. Maloney. We'll ask the same question on, regarding union negotiations to Mr. DeLuca. What would your administration have done to prevent the current impasse in union negotiations, and what priorities would you have to assure future financial stability in regard to union negotiations?
Excuse me. Well, this is what it boils down to. There's zero communication. The current impasse is a result of a failure to communicate. And I hate to use a movie reference, but that's exactly what it is. What needs to happen is every single department head needs to have a seat at the table, the proverbial seat at the table. Every single problem the city has needs to be outlined on a board in City Hall on the second floor auditorium, so they see what's going on in the city, and they need to be able to contribute to it. Tell us your problems. Tell us what you need to better make sure that you're safe, that you can do your job better, provide better services. Let's list these problems down. Let's look at it together. They need to be able to take ownership of some of these issues. So when it comes time to negotiate or have these contractual negotiations, there it is. Folks, this is what we can and cannot afford. You just got done telling us what the issues are. We've been meeting every single Monday for 2 hours talking about the issues. Here they are. It's time that the city needs to start living within their means. And when you show them, and they've bought into and they've taken ownership of the issues, they realize what the issues are. They know how much money you have. That's what needs to, and you have to be able to utilize the process. There is a process there. You just don't put up this wall and say, we're lawyering up, and go out and hire 2 very expensive attorneys. We should have very capable people within our city to take care of these contracts. You know, the time has come that we need to sit down and prioritize our issues. So that's what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will be for Mr. Schneider and Mr. Maloney, and we'll go right down the line and have Mr. Schneider be the first to answer this one regarding city infrastructure. Mr. Schneider, how would you address the city infrastructure problems ranging from the condition of the streets to the water system?
Well, the condition of our streets is fair to good. Okay. Every porch I go on to, every porch I go on to, they say, how are you going to fix the streets? We need to fix the streets. So the first thing I would say is we need to look at, and I talked about it at the other debate that we had, street calming and what effects they have, and how you take care of the main thoroughfares on your road or in your community. So Montgomery Road, 561, the different state roads in the city of Norwood, we need to really pay attention to them, because actually there's a lot of money out there to repave those roads much more often than any other streets within our community. So we need to take advantage of that. But then on our residential streets, we really need to look at the road program, a street program. So preventive maintenance to make our streets last as long as they can. And some of that's taken place. And people sort of turn a blind eye to some of the street repairs that have taken place in the community. So there have been some street repairs. Not enough, don't get me wrong. I'm not on that bandwagon of saying our streets are in great shape. Our streets have a lot to be improved upon. But we need to really look at and put together a road program that goes over years, a 5-year program, and council gets involved. And guess what? It is a political hot potato, and it is a challenge to get a road program approved and to get the funding in place. But that's what we should be working on. We have to put that together. We have to put a plan that lasts through the next few years, and you try to stick to that plan, and you try to continue on that plan. We have to leverage every penny that comes in that we can use on streets. We need to try to leverage that to get even more done. I know that Goff Manor was just successful in doing that. They had more money coming in, so they were able to do more streets, and we need to do that in the city of Norwood. That's critically important. And I know there's ongoing work with the Greater Cincinnati Water Works and with the city of Norwood's Water Department to try to figure out what we're going to do with that critical infrastructure. There's a lot of plans that are being put in place, so that's something that's working forward.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. We have now arrived at the closing statements and of our forum. Oh, I totally sorry. I was intentionally doing that for you, Tim. So.
I'm sure. The last time I got a fun question.
I think infrastructure is fun too, but that's for us government nerds. I totally apologize, Mr. Maloney. I will repeat that question. How would you address the city infrastructure problems ranging from the condition of the streets to the water system?
So I think we're all pretty disappointed in the condition of our streets and the latest issue with the water system. You know, Norwood financially is not at the bottom anymore. It's slowly making the way up the curve. Lots to do. But we're going to do this with no debt. So the millions of dollars that we owed Rumpke and vendors like that are all paid. The millions of dollars we owed the pension system are all paid. The bond debt that was issued many years ago, that's all paid. Now that came at a cost, paying off all the debt over the last 4 or 5 years. And that cost, that wasn't for free. That cost is no parks being done, no roads being done, no buildings being maintained at a level that we need to. That paying all that debt off wasn't for free. And it's like you need to paint a room at your house, but you're not going to until you pay off your car. Well, the car's paid off. So already the conversation on council has shifted from when are we going to repair a street or redo a street to which ones are we going to do next or first. So that's pretty exciting to me that the conversation has shifted. With roads, you need to take the emotion out of it. You need a professional engineering study done to determine what are the priorities to fix roads. You need some strong grant writing to get as much help as we can. We need some equipment that's up to date and works for our public works folks, that they're able to fix things as we go. And we also need to be able to fix potholes and go through a pothole.
Thank you, Mr. Maloney.
Okay.
Well, just go ahead and hang on to the microphone. Now, doing my thorough research here of our questions, we have reached the end of the question period. And now we are moving to closing statements, so we'll start with Mr. Maloney, and you have, again, this is a 2-minute closing statement for each candidate.
We'll wait till Donna to set the timer here. I'm good? Okay.
Go ahead.
I think government in Norwood is broken right now. And we need to take that step to fix government. A lot of it is what we've all talked about. There's no hidden agenda. There's no magic bullet. Trust with the community, trust with the business community, trust with the unions, trust with the city workers. All of that has got to get to the next step. We need to make improvements almost everywhere. Let me assure you that I want what you guys want. We're on the same page. I want better roads. I want parks that we can be proud of. I want a safe neighborhood. I want a community that's known for its business friendliness. We need to take that step. I want what you want. And we will make progress, and we will head down that path with my administration. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maloney. Mr. Schneider?
Thank you. Hard to follow that one up because it's hitting on all the important factors that make a community what it is. So I will talk about a couple of things that I think are important to running the city and to good governance. And one of the things that all the Republican candidates have signed on with is a code of ethics. And the code of ethics is basically just a guideline for all of our candidates to say this is what we will do if we are elected in there. And I think the city of Norwood needs to adopt a code of ethics. We've ran into a lot of tumultuous times, mostly because there were people planting and sowing seeds that are not productive and, quite frankly, just do not do any good for the city of Norwood. Our reputation is at an all-time low in the city of Norwood. I agree with Mr. DeLuca. All the surrounding areas have passed us up. So the code of ethics talks about using sound judgment and really paying attention, reading information, and using the circumstances that are available to make good decisions as a elected official of the city of Norwood. Obeying and upholding the laws and ordinances of the city of Norwood. And one of the things that's in here that's interesting is it says uphold and adopt all the adopted council decisions, even if the council member was in the minority regarding the actions that may not have obtained a unanimous decision. So our elected officials maybe vote no on something, it gets passed by everybody else, but then they want to go out and use that and jump on a soapbox and dog talk every other person who said no. That's not acceptable. That's not how our candidates should be. That's not how our elected officials should be. Once that decision's made, you move on. So the code of ethics is an important part. And I think that the Republicans that are willing and have stepped up to run are willing to do it right, to work together, to communicate, and make the city better. And I think there are a lot of other candidates that would also, but the Republicans have stepped up and said that.
Thank you. Mr. DeLuca?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's important for you folks to know why I'm running. I'm running because, quite frankly, I feel that both parties have failed us. Plain and simple. Our issues, they're not, we're not building a wall. AOC's best Green Deal, we're not doing that. Gun control, no gun control, but we're not making those kinds of decisions. We're talking about a $24 million budget. How to get the best bang for your buck, but fairly. That's what we're talking about doing. My two opponents, you've heard them. Been treasurer for X amount of years, politics in his bloodline, born in it. This, my other opponent, it's not me. I'm not. I'm a business guy. I live in a community that right now is suffering. It's broken on all levels. There's few people there that are doing the best that they can. She's one of them. She should have been running for mayor. This woman right here. But I'm running for mayor because she's not. And I live here, and I'm tired of it. It's not that, it's not rocket science. You know, our road problem, we have over 66 miles of road in Norwood. No street plan is going to put a dent in that. You can't pass a big enough levee to fix our roads. People will move out. The way to do it is within. What little money we have earmarked for roads, we buy the equipment and we do it ourselves. And I've shown a little bit how you can do that. I don't know if you folks remember the parade. I was the guy that brought that big old paver down the road. That was me. That's what business owners do. Politicians, they want to spend your money. Us business people, we save money. We become efficient, and we learn how to stretch a dollar. That's what I bring to the table.
Thank you very much. I want to, realizing this is a forum and not a debate, and realizing also this is an intense race, but I want to commend every candidate for sticking to the issue. So, please give all three of our candidates a round of applause. And we are less than a month away from early voting. October 8th that begins, and obviously the election day is November 5th. So thank you, everyone.